You are about to listen to the Neverdaily podcast.
This is the biggest thing since the Zapruder film.
So many questions.
I don't have any answers.
But please don't stop listening
to the Neverdaily podcast.
Welcome.
Hey, welcome to the Neverdaily podcast.
Yep. Welcome to the Neverdaily podcast, where from archaeology to Bigfoot, from bizarre news to cryptids, if you're into
bugs.
I knew the big bug thing from yesterday had come up. I'm sorry about that. I blame it on my meds. Yeah. Oh. From cryptozoology to dark humor, from Egyptology to historical humor, you can find lore and more right here on this show. Are you into medical mystery? Have you ever watched Mystery 411 and thought, I wonder if there's a podcast like that, but funnier and maybe a little lighter on detail? We bring strange studies. We'll talk about UFOs and UAPs, from the unexplained that stays unexplained on the show to unsolved mysteries which don't get solved. We're here. We're weird. And we brought the weird finds, weird history, weird news, and weird science. We are the Neverdaily podcast. You want to know what I just did?
No.
Okay, moving on.
What you just did?
Well, okay, believe it or not, every word we're saying right now is being transcribed almost in real time. And then once this show's out there, all of the... Did Jess leave and come back? I didn't even know she left.
She did.
I was so engrossed in my intro. And she was so outgrossed in it, she left. Anyway, what I did is I just read all the keyword tags.
You know, she left the second you started talking about AI. And I'm about to say.
My intro was full of all the SEO keyword tags for this show. Those are all the tags that I've written up. So if anybody is searching for any of those terms, archaeology, Bigfoot, bizarre news, cryptids, cryptozoology, dark humor, Egyptology, historical humor, lore, medical mystery, Mystery 411, strange studies, UAP, UFOs, on and on and on, our show will show up in their search results, and that's kind of cool. But are you asking yourself, why did you put Mystery 411 in there? Are you asking that? Because you're like that.
Yes.
Because you're asking that because you're like, that's a documentary. Why are you doing that? Because in the space of unsolved mystery type of documentaries, other than Unsolved Mysteries, which we all know is a banger, Mystery 411 is the next most popular, most searched documentary in the kind of the space that we sit as far as what the topics we cover. So you put it in your search terms, and then our show comes up when somebody's like, are there other things like Mystery 411? And then Neverdaily podcast. And then they're like, I like documentaries that I can watch, and we just keep showing up. Neverdaily podcast. Neverdaily podcast. Neverdaily podcast. So I thought this would be interesting for people to know. Today, at the end of the day, me and my buddy Adam the cop, it's so weird because that's his last name, the cop. And he's also a police officer.
In your hometown, are they still just giving people last names based on their
jobs? Yeah. I live next to Trenton Horsehoofer.
That's ironic because I live next to Trenton Crackhead.
Do you also live next to Betty just stays at home and like isn't even really a house maiden type? She just literally stays at home, and we watch Amazon packages delivered while we know her husband's just like at work, working it. Yeah. And working.
That is a really long last name.
Yeah. That's why we just, we don't talk about her very often. So today, Adam the cop and I are going to go sight in my 300 Win Mag rifle for the hunt that's coming up, which
on photos of minorities.
Gosh. Oh, I live near Caldwell, which we don't have to have photos. They're just running around in the fields out there. So you just back off 200 yards and square up. Sight in your MOA right on there, reticulated. Anyway, gonna go sight in my rifle. Usually, fun fact I don't share, you should sight in a rifle at 100 yards for hunting in the Western game hunting like we do. If anybody's like, this just gives me an uncomfortable feeling, stop talking about hunting. Don't worry, because I've never shot anything. And I literally, you can find this still out there.
Yeah, you told us yesterday you've been hunting for 6 seasons and you've never killed anything.
Ever. There, I'm confirming right now that this is still out there. Oh, it is. If you go out and search on Instagram, you will find a video of me, and my brother sitting on the side of a mountain whispering. We're like, okay, we've been here for 4 hours. And right down there, just a click down the mountain there, there's nothing. When I go hunting, it's literally just hiking with bullets. That's all it is. Hiking with bullets. And
it would be funny if after all these years of never killing anything, and I don't want to lose you, I want you to be alive forever. But after I got over the initial shock of you being dead, if you like tripped and fell and accidentally shot yourself and killed yourself, if after all these years you have a kill death ratio of 0-1.
Okay. It is probably likely. I don't know what it is. I put it on a spiritual level. I really do, because when I go into the woods, I firmly believe now that the woods are trying to kill me. I have a box of hats, and it basically is sort of a timeline of my hunting experiences, but I have a box of hats that are covered in blood from the wounds that I've incurred in the woods. And I don't know if I've ever told this story, so I'll tell it really
quick. Ever.
I went.
Other hunters have hats that have blood because of deer and squirrel.
Yeah, no, mine's
and
all my
turkeys.
blood.
All the blood on your clothes is your own.
It is, yeah. So I don't think I've ever told this story, so I'll tell it just really quick. The last time I went hunting with Adam the cop, it was just him and I this time, and we didn't go with our buddy Paul. We went into, get this, the Frank Church Wilderness River of No Return Wilderness. That's where we went. The Frank Church River of No Return Wilderness, and we've been in that area like so many times for hunts. And this hunt was going to be 4 days long. It's Adam the cop and I, and we sat on the side of a mountain for the day, and we glassed. And what glassing is you take a spotting scope, which is a giant, kind of like a telescope of sorts, and you just glass the side of the mountain. And based on the time of day and everything, you kind of know where you're looking and everything. And zeros that day. We saw a couple sheep. We were stalked by a wolf, which was creepy, and we saw a black bear, but nothing like close enough to, harvest or anything like that. So end of day comes, sunset sets, we're heading back to camp, and we walk off the front finger of this mountain that goes down to the trail.
Yeah.
Incline is enough that if you tripped on a root and fell forward, you catch air, and then you find the ground in a bit, because it's that kind of an incline. Anyway, what we were walking through, though, in the dark, dusky dark at that point, because it was that weird dark where your eyes can't really gauge what's going on. We were walking through just this morass of felled trees, and they were felled, meaning that they'd been cut down, managed. So these trees were managed because they were dead. And you want to get rid of dead trees, because if you don't get rid of dead trees, then you get a lot of forest fires. And that's California's problem. They don't manage their forests well enough. Anyway, so we're walking over all these felled trees. And I have my pack on my back, and my pack's probably 30 pounds, 20, 30 pounds. It's not, it's not that, but 30 pounds, probably 30 pounds with everything in it. And my foot gets caught under a felled tree, and it holds it firm enough that my body weight goes forward, but I can't get my other foot in front of me because of the steepness of the hill in time. So it just kind of flicks me into the air. So I come down on my head with 30 pounds of backpack, forcing me, more momentum than I normally have, just being 250 pounds. I come down on a felled tree that the arborist or whoever was out there felling the trees thought, this branch is a little big. Let me cut it off at a razor sharp angle. And my head caught that branch, the cut off branch on the tree trunk, and it punched through my trucker hat, and then cut me to my skull. It was about 2.5 inches long. And Adam the cop is really good he's a cop, so he shoots people in the face, he protects and serves, and he knows how to do things when people are bleeding out. So he's like, "Oh man," sits me down, and I'm like, "Am I okay?" And I was just like, I feel fine. And he's like, I take my hat off, and he's like, "Yeah, we gotta go." I was like, let's just patch it. And he's like, "No, I can't patch it. I can see your skull." And I was like, "No, crap." So he takes this silk scarf that we had, and wraps it around my head like half pint and tight, and then puts my hat back on my head. And then we hiked back to camp, and my head just kind of bled the whole time. We got back to camp. He's like, "Let me take a look at it one more time." And I was like, "Just grab my suture kit. Let's just suture it up." And he's like, I don't know how many layers deep I'd have to suture this to make it for us to stay out here for another 3.5 days. So we hiked out 3 miles.
How
packed
many
up
layers
all of
deep
our
is on your head? How thick is the skin between your skull and your?
It's probably 1/4 inch, all layers, or like Chase is holding up. Chase is saying
Chase just held up the thickness
of a credit card,
of a tomahawk steak.
I can't wait to meet
Chase.
Chase.
If that's how thick the skin on your head is, and then you add in the thickness of your skull, I don't know how you get through every day with a brain that size.
We packed up everything in camp and hiked out the 3 miles back to the truck. And by then it was like 11 p.m. And we're in, like I said, the Frank Church River of No Return Wilderness, which is outside of Chalice, Idaho, sort of. And then Adam the cop drives like a bat out of hell back to town. It took us 3 hours. So around 2:30, 3 a.m., we walk into this ER, and he's Adam the cop. So he walks in, and they're like, hey, Adam. He's like, hey, because he brings in drunk people that are injured all the time. And they're like, he's like, this is my buddy. He hurt himself hunting. And I'm like, hi. Sat down, and the nurse came in, kind of checked us in, left. And then she comes back in, and she's like, okay, let's see what's going on. And she kind of looks at my skull and my cut. And I was like, so how do you handle this? Do you do like the injections, pain, like lidocaine injections or stuff? And then all of a sudden I just feel chuck, 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 chuck. She staples my head shut with 7 staples. Doesn't say a thing to me. No warning. Nothing. Just staples my skull together. She's like, all right, here's a tool. You can take those out in like 11 days or something like that. And that's story number 1. I've got so many. And that's why they think they want me to go, is they're out of stories of harrowing.
Did you know that people do whenever they do brain surgery on people, you don't have to numb the brain because it doesn't have any nerve endings?
Yeah, no pain receptors up there. And also really good because they want to keep you awake so that you can, and they'll talk to you. They'll be like, hey, okay, so tell us a story. And they tell you that so that when you're talking, they're touching parts of the brain and waiting for you to go like, all right, well, last weekend I was doing a garage
Potato
sale and everything was going just, and I put out all my fleece for sale. They're waiting for that. Yeah.
Do you think surgeons ever get the urge to like I couldn't fight the urge to just mess around a little bit and see what happens? Like, let's run a piece of copper wire from this part of the brain to this part of the brain and see what suddenly the chairs in the room start levitating. Like, oh, that's why it's not connected. It throws off gravity.
Yeah. You come out of surgery and they're like, ma'am, that we found the problem. Also, we increased your bite force to the force of a great white shark while we were in there. You're welcome. You're just going to have to replace that CR32 watch battery once a month.
Listen, man, you are going hunting.
Yeah.
Please be careful.
I will.
Because I don't, I can't imagine a world without my paycheck from 1159 Media.
Thanks, buddy. Love you too. The paycheck looks a lot the same. It just doesn't say B&H Tool and Die on the top of it.
It does. It does.
They're very similar. Very similar.
The only difference is I don't have that feeling of accomplishment.
Project done. You don't have that one anymore.
And I don't get to leave it at work.
It is sort of I believe like one of the roundabouts on this downward spiral in Dante's Inferno is podcasting, because it never ends. And the better you are at it, the more demand there is for you to keep bringing a banger every time. And that's hard.
It's also like always right there.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll be like, I'm not going to write today. I'm taking the day off. And then I have to urinate, but I'm upstairs and I have to walk past my office. And my computer's like just sitting there staring at me like, hey, fat boy, you don't deserve a day off.
Right?
Sit down for just a minute. Write something. This Pee Wee Gaskins, it's not going to write itself.
And
Jeff,
then 11
really
hours
want you to
later,
record tomorrow night.
You committed. You told everybody on social media.
And that's why I do the social media thing, to give myself a deadline. It's like,
I used to think it was you were doing it as a slight toward me. Like,
well, it was that
show
too.
this is when we're going to do it. It works. So yes, I'm taking out my 300 Win Mag, which is also, it feels like a 50 cal. It is not a light weapon. And I've got skills, so I'll tell you, like, I've done a lot of long range training. I can shoot an 8-inch steel target at 600 yards. Pretty efficiently. Here's the thing. As a responsible hunter, you would never want to shoot that far because you just risk injuring whatever you shoot. So you want to be within reasonable range, but it's nice to know that in the upcoming apocalypse, I'll have the ability to brain a Russian at 600 yards with no problem.
Why is it a Russian?
Fine. Brain a Canadian at 600 yards.
You guys
With
worked it out.
Oh, not that Canadian. Just a random Canadian. They're like, our house prices are too high. I'm taking your house. And I'm like, I can see you coming. Boom.
Oh, I don't know what we're going to do with you, Op.
Maybe not much. You won't have to worry about it because the hunt might just do me in. We'll see.
Also, before it's important, I want to say before we started recording here, we discovered that, and this is true, that Op, and I'm just now finding this out, is blind when he smiles.
Oh, I can't see a thing. And I smile a lot. That should worry everybody.
Most of the time. I think you could legally be blind. Because his eyes
right
shut
now.
Completely. He's smiling right now, just 2 slits. That's all it is.
Have you ever done that thing? Okay, I can tell you exactly what it's like. You know when you're looking through your window outside and there's a screen on the window and you focus your eyes so that suddenly you see the screen and not what's outside? You know?
Yes.
Like you bring your depth to the screen. That's what smiling is like. When I smile, it's like I'm looking at the screen in front of my eyes, which are my eyelashes, and everything outside is so blurry. I'm at risk. Anybody could take me out when I smile.
I would just love to go to like a stand-up comedy show with you and then afterwards be like, it was a great venue, wasn't it? And you're like, I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. When I laugh, I don't know venues. I also don't see oncoming traffic. So that's a thing.
And we're not kidding. Your eyes completely shut when you smile.
Yeah, I got it from my mom. The mom operator also no vision when she smiles. Didn't know that until I was older because as a child, she never smiled. She did. She smiled every time she hit me. Just kidding.
Oh,
she giggled.
Op.
I'll leave it in the comments. Should I take my 9mm for bear protection or my 10mm? I agree.
Regardless, you're going to have that 9 inches on you. You know what I'm saying? Fucking hog leg.
Anyway, what did you bring for us today here, Cantavius?
It is insert music, but Creepypasta Friday.
Yeah.
Creepypasta Friday.
Yay!
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 It never gets old.
Yay.
I mean, I could push the button right now again and it wouldn't get old.
Yay! Yay!
Yeah.
Yay!
Did it get old?
Come to Pathmark 24 hours a day for savings all over. That add
Chase
up
has
to
his headphones
savings
off.
overall.
All right, let me make sure I'm on my boom ghost noise. Okay, we're ready to go.
So I will admit today's creepypasta is a little bit short, but I liked it.
That's what she
We're not
said.
gonna have a long one today.
That's what she said.
Let me how do I make this go away? Hold on a minute. I heard you.
You know what's sad is nobody gets to hear the funniest noise that happens during our recording. Just so everybody knows, on our recording, when somebody appears on camera or disconnects from the studio, it goes choo, choo, and it's like this whoosh noise, and it's the funniest thing when somebody just leaves.
Yeah, and it's usually Jess.
Yeah.
And speaking on noises and Jess, right before she was late today because she had Chipotle. And then also, ironically, she said, you guys can't hear the chainsaws outside the house, can you? It's like, okay, Jess. Right, it's chainsaws. You had Chipotle like and then suddenly there's muffled chainsaw noises out.
Jess, but what you don't know is Kent's heard those A10 warthogs in the wild. So every time you rip one, he gets PTSD. Brr, brr.
Sounds like a chainsaw, an 8-cylinder chainsaw that's only firing on 3 cylinders.
8. On the packaging for the 8-cylinder chainsaw, it shows 2 people carrying it. Oh, man.
Today's creepypasta is called Julia Was a Clever Girl. And it was written by Reddit user I Post at Midnight. And I do like this one, but it's short.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a heads up. It's not very long, but I think it's fun. And this is Julia Was a Clever Girl. Julia knew she was smart. She was one of those clever children, the kind of child who figures out early on that parents aren't all powerful and all knowing. The first time she realized this was when she got scared. There had been a noise in her room, coming from under her bed or from the closet. Julia ran down the hall crying, "Mommy, Daddy!" "What's wrong, honey?" I heard a monster." Julia glubbed. She expected them to comfort her or roll their eyes or get annoyed. Instead, they jumped up immediately and raced to her bedroom, where they checked under the bed, inspected the closet, and tested the window lock. They poked and prodded and scoured every inch. Julia caught on quickly. She knew what they were doing. By taking her fears seriously, they were showing their little girl that she was safe and loved. They had probably read about it in some book. But the lesson Julia learned was that she had the power. Thereafter, waking her parents became a nightly event. Julia would scream and cry, and they would rush to her bedroom, and Julia would hide her grin behind her tears. But not once did they ever complain. One night, she could stand it no longer, and she burst out laughing when Daddy fell down while examining the light fixture, as if a monster could fit up there. "What's so funny?" he asked, rubbing his backside. "You," Julia smirked. "You always believe me." Daddy wasn't angry. He just looked at Mommy. "Once," he said quietly. "Just once, we didn't believe your brother." And Julia, an only child, did not sleep well that night.
Oh.
You had one fucking job. One job. One job. You had one job.
All right, do the ending again and I'll hit it right. I was engrossed. All right, do the ending one more time.
And Julia, an only child, did not sleep well that night. Like it even matters now. It doesn't even matter.
Oh, that was good. Also, super creepy dad. Heck, Dad.
Yeah. I would argue not good parents. Like,
Yeah,
move
I'd
away from
argue
that
that.
house.
Yeah, move right away. ASAP, Rocky.
That's a rapper.
Yeah. All right.
What'd you bring today, Op?
I brought something real good.
Big old bugs.
No, not bugs again. I realized that I shouldn't make judgment calls if I am going to
an intervention.
If I'm going to take risperidone, I shouldn't make judgment calls on what is interesting. Also, not going to take risperidone ever again. That was a poor choice. Hey, doc, guess what? That doesn't work. And then I was also looking at what risperidone's for. It's not for me. I mean, I got stuff, but I don't have risperidone stuff. There's a moth in here. Got him. I don't have risperidone stuff, so I don't know what that was all about. And he agreed when I called him. I was like, hey, I'm on my lips today. I took this risperidone. He's like, yeah. Oh. Yeah, let's change that out. I'm like, what to? And he's like, oh no, we'll call you back.
Risperidone is used to treat schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or irritability associated with autistic disorder. Maybe it is for you.
But the way he said, now this can be used supplementally for ADHD symptoms. And I kind of feel like he was doing it like he was reaching into his magician's hat, hoping a rabbit would pull out. And it didn't. It pulled out like a chicken nugget. And he was like, oh, let's try it. So.
Do you have anxiety? Were you taking it for anxiety?
Okay. So I don't, you've heard me when somebody says, what's wrong? I'm like, okay, you got an hour. I don't know why I do it. I get very long-winded and I move from like what is relevant into like what's not relevant. And I'm not doing it for attention. But what happens is I internalize my sense of doom so much that when somebody says, hey, can I put the key in the doom, the what's wrong lock and open it for a second? They don't understand the pressures per square inch that's behind it. And I don't do the whole, can I trust this person with personal information? I don't do that evaluation either. So there's a lot of people that are just walking around going, because I over explained things.
That's an
I just did
explicit explanation.
And hence the risperidone, because I have this like unrealistic sense of doom more than I should. And it's not about the business, not about 1159, but it's 100% about the business, 100% about 1159.
To be fair, I would say it worked. Because you didn't give a fuck that nobody else cared about the big bugs.
I was so sleepy. That was the problem. I didn't have feelings of doom, but I really just wanted to take naps.
I would like to say that in the back door, Aaliyah Moon did care very much about the big bugs.
Thank you, Aaliyah. And you know what they say in marketing? If one person is giving a comment positive or negative, then there's 1,000 or 10,000 or even 100,000 people that are silent that think the same thing.
Yeah,
so
that's
thank
a
you,
good way to look at it, I guess. Like when you said you had overwhelming support for the cowboy poet.
Yes.
And Chase said it was actually 3 people out of 10 million that said they liked it.
That means that 300,000 people liked it. And that's nearing a percentage of the listenership of the show. So that, that's pretty good. It's pretty good, I'd say. Well, without further ado, unless you have something else to share, I'll get right into what I brought. All right.
You motherfucker.
Cue eerie music. New York City, a metropolis of iconic skyscrapers from the Empire State Building to the Chrysler Building. But amidst the architectural marvels stands a peculiar giant.
All right, Kent, this is where I actually need you to do something. Can you Google map the following address for me?
I can.
33 Thomas Street, New York City. Or just New York, probably pull it up. And then I want you to describe what you see.
A giant AT&T building. It looks like a Gotham City villain. A Gotham City villain's building.
Yep. Explain what's weird about it.
Here, I'll just share.
Yeah, share it here, and then do a kind of a visual. What's weird about this building?
It doesn't have any windows.
Not a one. Not a one.
God, what is this? Is the weirdest. And it's on a little bitty it's on a little bitty back street. This building's like 55 stories tall. This is definitely where a supervillain lives. Right up there.
It doesn't fit in if you kind of circle around. All the other buildings are little. like they're children compared to this giant building on this little tiny back street. I might even argue everybody else on the street is a backstreet boy, and this is a backstreet man. All right. Pause for dramatic effect.
For decades, its looming presence has been a source of urban legends, alien base, NSA surveillance hub, or perhaps a relic from the Cold War.
All right. Now, what if I told you that the United States is dotted with the same creepy, windowless, giant hulk of a build? Oh my gosh. Kit just shared this. Is that like current? Is she? No, it is current because you can see the crazy in her eyes. Kent is sharing Britney Spears dancing in her house.
That's all she does.
Look at her eyes. 3 days ago.
Out of her fucking mind.
She is crazy. I want to say what happened was everybody else got on board with the Illuminati, and she's like, no, that sounds creepy. And they're like, all right, no problem. And then they made her crazy. That's like
There's definitely some kind of MK Ultra thing going on here.
I feel like it because who spends as much time as she did under a conservatorship and then get out from underneath the conservatorship, have clarity enough to kind of put out a book about it, and then wake up every morning like a half-charged battery and forget what she should not be doing in public.
This is all she does, too. I mean, this is what you're seeing. It's every day she dances in front of the camera in her house in scantily clad clothing.
I don't know. Also, can I say this? Ever since this is unfair and not kind, but ever since she was a kid, I never really understood everybody's excitement with her because she has the body of a toilet paper tube.
She does not. How dare you?
Yes, she does.
How dare you?
Look, when she stands up straight, she's got the curves of a character off of Family Guy. Just wah wah.
I always thought she was beautiful.
I did it.
I had a big crush on Britney when I was in school.
I was always like, no. That's what I said. Anyway, back to the story. Are you going to keep this? You can keep that up or not.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
All right. Enough with the cowboy poetry, but I'll finish this out. So, yeah. So what if I told you that the United States is dotted with that same building in cities across the United States?
The Gotham City villain building?
Yeah, there's several. So for decades, we've been trying to figure out what this is. 1960s America, the Cold War, nuclear threats. The U.S. needed to protect its telecommunications, they say. So enter, literally, this is the name of the project, Project X.
That's not ominous.
Not at all. So these buildings are skyscrapers designed to withstand a nuclear attack, to function as a fallout shelter, and to ensure uninterrupted communication. Because up until like fiber optics and digital, we all know telecommunications relied on these massive cables, underground, subterranean cables. So AT&T, being the Bell company of old, they relied on the fact that, well, if we have a nuclear bomb hit the America somewhere, it could disconnect one of our telecommunications cables and break the grid. So designed by John Carl Warnke, who was actually, fun fact to know and share, a close friend of John F. Kennedy. These are brutalist masterpieces. Now, if you're like, what's brutalism? Look up any building in Russia, and that's brutalist architecture. They're it's like if RoboCop was a building. Very, very stout. Not a lot of ornamentation going on. So these buildings have a very specific purpose. Machines, not humans, were its primary inhabitants. And machines, as we know, don't need sunlight. But why no windows? Machines are susceptible to warm temperatures. That's why. So to ensure optimal conditions, they decided to forego windows completely in these buildings. But as with any good mystery, there's always a twist. So get this. In 1991, a massive outage at 33 Thomas Street disrupted communications. Over 5 million calls were blocked. This incident drew a lot of attention to the building's significance. So more than 170 million calls are routed through this building alone daily. But beneath it, 3 basement levels.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew there were going to be something. I knew the building went down into the ground as well.
Yeah, and there's the publicly released version of how many levels down and also what's in them. But one of the basement levels houses 250,000 gallons of fuel ready for any catastrophe. It can even shelter 1,500 people with a fully equipped cafeteria. This is a building built for robots, but for some reason, it's also built so that 1,500 people could live in it. And if you're wondering what 1,500 people, you're not on the list. Guaranteed, you're not on the list. The plot thickens even more, though. In 2013, a very familiar character to us, some may call him a traitor, some might call him a hero, Edward Snowden leaked documents revealing the NS... Hero. I agree. I think hero. There should be more Edward Snowdens. And also, what happened to WikiLeaks? I'm so sad because that was always like so fun. And now all we get is like anonymous every once in a while being like, hey, we're gonna break the lid off of the World Economic Forum, and then it kind of does a wah wah wah. But anyway, Edward Snowden leaked documents revealing the NSA's collaboration with a certain telecommunications company. The building's code name, Titan Point. The NSA, in partnership with AT&T, has used this building to collect billions of bits and pieces of metadata, calls, locations, durations, all monitored from that very skyscraper that you're looking at there. So what truly lies within 33 Thomas Street? Is it just a Cold War relic? Is it an NSA surveillance hub? Or perhaps, as some wild theories suggest, a base for vampires or lizard overlords? Honestly, I think the answer is probably yes.
Let me ask you this.
But, yeah.
What makes this building immune to atomic blasts?
So what you're looking at there...
Obviously, the lack of windows. That doesn't make it immune, but there's a lot less damage.
Structurally, if you look at this building...
like a pyramid.
Yes. Also, the ramparts, if you will, of a castle. So the buttress, the base of a castle is built very similar in that it is a massive, sturdy base above ground, followed by just basically another block in the middle. But those buttresses along the sides reinforce the rigidity of the building. So this can take a horizontal blast, and also the horizontal what do you call those? The shock waves of a blast, because the wall thickness on that building is like no other. When you don't have to do window, consider this. If they put windows on the columnar structures going up and down the building, if they put windows in there so that somebody could see out of the window, you could lay in the windowsill with your feet flush with the outside wall, you could lay flat and your head wouldn't touch the window behind you. That's how thick the walls are.
I'm just thinking, like, in an apocalypse situation, all
Yeah.
these other buildings are leveled. This
That
would be
one's
such
not.
an easy place to defend. Like,
Yes.
if you could take this
Yeah.
building.
Yeah. Another thing, consider this, that if you should do, this is a total rabbit hole, but it's really interesting to go down. If you look at this building, if you look at satellite footage of this building, as far as the GIS or ArcGIS maps go, and you look at it from year to year to year, one thing you'll find very interesting is that the top of the building, what's on the top of the building, changes more often than New York City changes its underwear. So the doodads and, satellite dishes and all the stuff on top, you can even tell. You can see on the top of the building, you can see parts that are like scraped down.
Yeah,
You
like
can
right
tell
here.
that there's like
Right
shrouds
here.
of something used to be there. That building has the top of that building has changed its makeup and its what's on it so many times. It's wild. You know what? You know what makes me mad? Here's
How
what
many
makes me
lizard
mad.
people are in here?
No, here's what makes me mad is I don't like people that mock people that talk about conspiracy theories. You know why? Because the people that mock people that talk about conspiracy theories are always complicit at some point in historical tragedies. They never listened. They balked at everybody who said that we should worry about something. And then they always end up being part of the problem. Go back in history and look at anybody who said the sky isn't falling, you guys are idiots. They're never the first to die, and they're always the first to roll over when it comes to whatever dictatorship or whatever's coming through. Makes me mad. It's never like a Hollywood movie. I'm disturbed. You keep flipping around that building and it just doesn't get, and you can't get used to that building.
It's
You
so
can't.
odd. It literally, I mean, it does look like something from a comic,
It's wild.
a villain's comic.
And here's the rabbit hole for you. The top of the building is a rabbit hole for sure. But also, you can Google and you can find lists of this building or windowless buildings that serve the same quote unquote purpose all over the United States. Because what would be the point of protecting the telecommunications grid only at one place? No,
that fucking kid is way too big to be in a stroller.
Yeah. Kent is on Street View.
That
And
kid's
he's
getting
looking
his
at
fucking driver's permit like next week.
I think when she gets tired, he just pushes his toe a little bit on the ground and kind of helps the stroller along. Or maybe there's no kid in that and those are fake legs and it's actually a robot.
I didn't know that you didn't like people making fun of conspiracy theories. And I'm kind of bummed because the story I was going to bring for Monday's episode of The Daily Show, see, that kid's fine in a stroller. No, never mind. Also too big for a stroller.
Yeah. Oh, and there's a body in that lady's luggage. Wow. I just noticed something. I don't mean to cut you off, but as you're going around here, did you notice that Street View blurs the faces out of everybody?
Yeah, it's always done that. Also blurs out license plates.
Oh, whoa.
Yep, see?
That's amazing. Here's what's fun. I think if you blurred out my face and I was walking down the corner, I'd still be recognized as every dude ever. They'd be like, hey, that's Bill Wilson. No, that's
they don't even blur your face.
So for some reason, the AI won't blur my face out because it's like, I think it's already blurred. It looks really, that's not even identifiable. Nobody's that guy.
Like you can still see who this guy is though. What's cool is you see whenever I switch to this street, Ooh, what is that? Well, it's a Porsche. So over here, this street view, shit. This street view right here was taken from a vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Well, when you go down this street, they also have backpack cams that stick out of
Is
a
that
backpack.
how they get that?
Yeah.
I was wondering how they get such a straight on angle. That's amazing.
And this street has been taken on foot.
Oh, look at this. Go back down that
Look,
sidewalk.
actually, you can see it right here. See in this reflection?
Oh, you can see the guy's reflection. Oh, it's way up above his head.
Yeah, that's
that's
the camera.
interesting. It's like Johnny Five on the back of his back. Okay, turn around. Go the other way down the sidewalk. This is funny. Go to the corner and look who's on the corner right there. Back up just a bit. Sorry. So go back to that corner where you were. I think you're on another street now. There you go. Turn around. Look who's at the corner. Now walk backward.
Like towards him?
Like away from him. And then turn back around.
Whoa, that guy's fast.
The FedEx guy's following that guy down that whole street. Keep going. Go to the next one.
Oh, no, he's catching.
Hey!
Oh, this is scary. Where'd he go?
He went in to deliver a package. That's fun. Oh man, I need to get on Street View more. Also, creepy to think about how long Street View and Google Maps has been doing what they're doing and how thorough of a job they've done. That's amazing. Like that's. You're muted, Kent.
Oh, I just said I love it. It might be my favorite thing on the internet.
It's so human, yet so. It happened, and none of us cared. But it's like a storybook. Reading the roads, reading the streets. Ooh, that sounds like a good podcast. Reading the streets. Hold on. That is a good idea. Would you listen to a podcast that walked you down a street and all it was were the stories of what Google Street View picked up, like crimes that it caught? Because there's whole lists out there of like this was actually caught on Street View, like a murder, or they think that a missing person has been caught on the camera. I would listen to that podcast. You know what? I would make that podcast. So Jess is excited. Look at those eyes, how bright and wide and big and
whenever I did
eyebrowy.
the episode for the Cecil Hotel on TCK, I was walking around Skid Row because Skid Row is right there. I mean, the Cecil Hotel is basically in Skid Row. And I discovered on Google Maps while walking around the streets a completely naked homeless lady taking a shit on the sidewalk.
Really?
That's pretty cool. Turns out she wasn't homeless. She had just eaten Chipotle and she was on her way back to do a podcast.
That's what Jess's face looks like right now. I was wondering why only one of her eyelids was blinking. I think that the amount of stuff moving through her bowels is innervating the nerves to her other eyelids. Oh man. So that's what I brought. Was that better than Big Bugs?
That was better. I enjoyed that. I like the Gotham City Two-Face building.
Okay. Good.
And in probably 250 years or so, rich doomsday preppers will be buying that building to make their home. And you'll be seeing on an episode on season 230 of Doomsday Preppers. I bought this abandoned government AT&T building, and now we're putting Mortal Kombat 9 in it.
I think that's the thing, is I think if you went around the United States and tried to buy the old missile silos, these derelict, this isn't even derelict, let's be honest. That thing is humming. That thing is just active, doing whatever it's doing. That building is not derelict. But if you went around and tried to buy up those places, I think they're all bought. They're all purchased.
Yeah.
Because we're all the weird wackadoos, the ones that want to talk about putting like a semi trailer, one of the container trucks in the ground and build a bunker. We're weird. But those billionaires, man, they've bought They've bought everything.
You know, I didn't get to finish a thought a minute ago. I interrupted myself. What I was going to bring Monday was ridiculous conspiracy theories. The shit that some people believe.
I enjoy it. What I don't like gaslighting. I won't ever gaslight
Katy Perry
somebody
is John
who has-
Benet Ramsey.
Wait, say that again?
A lot of people believe a conspiracy theory is that Katy Perry is John Benet Ramsey. She wasn't
Let me think
killed.
about that for a second.
Her parents faked her death to get her out of the limelight, which her limelight was like local beauty pageants. And the evidence to support that Katy Perry is John Benet Ramsey is that they kind of look alike. A little bit. Like just a bit. Like not even that much.
But not that much, really.
It's just fucking stupid. There's a lot of stupid conspiracy theories out there, but there are a lot that ended up being true. MK Ultra for a long time was a conspiracy theory. Turns out it was fact.
Here's the thing. I really enjoy them. And I think what I don't like this annoyed me. Have you ever noticed this? Did you ever notice this about Jack? When Jack comments or commented on stuff, when we would post like on Instagram or no, when we would post on like Patreon, somebody would say something, and they're trying to be all edgelordy. Jack is, not was, he hasn't died or anything. He's brilliant with how he responds to people. Like he can say what I want to say, but do it in like 3 words.
Yes.
And it's amazing how cutting he can be in 3 words. And he can be mean too, but it's like you deserved it. If Jack came after you and gave you a 3-word, finger wag, you deserved it and you knew it. And nobody fought him.
Master of the shortcut down.
Oh, he's so good at it.
Take your ankles out from underneath you in like 1 breath.
Yeah. I don't know how he does it. He's so very good at it. But there was somebody who, you remember that episode we did, the Neverdaily, was it a Neverdaily? Yeah, the Neverdaily, where you were like, well, what do you believe? And then I like went on my little tirade about, I don't know, like God and the single thread and all that.
Yes.
Some guy on Patreon Googled, probably best comebacks for people who have faith, I think, or something. And he wrote, I'm kind of mocking this guy, but I'm mocking him because what he said is impossible. He said, belief is the absence of proof. It's the robbery of logic, which sounds so cool.
Does it?
But it means nothing. It means
Sounds
nothing.
to me like something the kid with the oversized sweater and home ec that's playing Yu-Gi-Oh cards in the corner by himself would say.
Yeah, or the kid with the Che Guevara shirt on who's talking about the fascists. Belief is the absence of proof. It's the robbery of logic. It doesn't make any sense. It sounds like you're quoting Nietzsche, but you're not. And so the reason I bring that up is I don't like it when people gaslight conspiracy theorists. I'm like, what's the point? You want other people to like believe in your weird
I don't know what gaslighting
thing.
means, but you sound crazy.
I just think I love the way Joe Rogan does it. He'll look a guy straight in the eyes who he knows is straight up crazy, and he will give them he will never take the floor from somebody unless they just keep railroading him. Like, have you seen there's a reel of the guy talking about mushrooms, and Joe asks him like, so like, he asks for detail. He's like, so what's the significance, or where do these mushrooms come from? The guy pauses and then says, I'd like to change the subject. This is this is something where my life could be on the line if we continue this line of questioning. And Joe's just like, oh, okay. I'm just like, let people have their conspiracy theories. What is it hurting you? What's it hurting?
I got to look that up.
It's so good. You got to, just look up like Joe Rogan mushroom guy.
I will say this, that Jack, being the master of the 3-word leg sweep, you are like his arch nemesis in that you are the master of 21 paragraph chest tap.
And it's not even effective. Like, I'll finish my tirade and then the comment next to it is like, wow, that was long.
Yeah. All right. I don't have time to read that.
LDR.
You should sell that on Amazon. Self-publish.
No, okay. While you're looking up the Joe Rogan thing, the guy that says belief is the absence of proof, it's the robbery of logic. I can't come back to that with the Jack three-word leg sweep. I can't do it. I say belief compels action, which leads to knowledge. Knowledge is foundational to logic. Logic relies on knowledge to even exist.
Yeah.
And belief is the precursor to all knowledge. So in essence, you cannot believe what you wrote. Sort of a wobbly platform to try and stand your ground upon. It is self-defeating from the drop. I say to the guy, like I'm winning, like I'm Bagger Vance in how to do math when you're a janitor. How about them apples kind of movie. Like, I feel like I'm doing a how about them apples, like Matt Damon did, but I'm not doing a how about them apples.
Showed him. That guy didn't even read it.
Yeah.
Because he's got better things to do.
He wrote 9 words, and I wrote every word from the book that got read on reading Rainbow.
And while you're riding it, you're adjusting your shirt. Shrieking.
I have problems. I have a lot of I have problems. And then he wrote F belief. F belief. F it. Just F belief. F it, man.
Believe nothing.
And I said, sounds cool to say, super edgy. Impossible, but super edgy nonetheless. See, I couldn't even let that go. I can't let this go. I'm still talking.
Yeah, we're still talking about it.
I'm still talking. Yeah. Ooh, okay. I haven't put this into practice yet, but I did hear something really cool the other day, and I think I want to try to live my life by it now.
This episode is never going to be over. Yeah. What is it?
2 things. The power is in the pause. Right?
Yeah.
And the other is, he who speaks last loses, which is a hard one to wrap your head around, but it makes a lot of sense. Like, you're the bigger person if you don't have to do that last end run on a guy who you weren't going to change his mind anyway. And on that, I don't know. Hugs everybody, maybe? Or we can talk about Jack more. Or hugs everybody. I'm still talking. Yeah. Could you imagine a stand-up show where I just talk and like no one laughs, but I keep talking? That would be... Nobody's... Kent's just waving. You have to say bye. I'll keep talking if you don't say bye. I don't know how to do this.